And by the way, that woman where she wanted the full head of hair and funny, bald guys are a lot funnier. She's totally wrong.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. I want to welcome back dating coach and relationship expert Sandy Weiner, the author of Choice Points in Dating. Sandy, thanks for being here again.
So good to be back.
Well, I want to talk with you about one of the big things when we go out there and try to find new love after 50 or at any age for that matter, is we're often accused of being either too picky or not picky enough. To me, it's a bit of a defense mechanism, even the pickiness. You know, if we're not picky enough, we're too available. If we're too picky, I don't really want to go there, but we'll get into all that. Let me throw it over to you. Why is it such an important topic?
Well, you have to have clarity about who would be a good partner, and most people don't. So people get accused of being too picky more than being not picky enough, I would say. And a lot of times I see, especially as people age, that they just kind of shut down. They just say, well, it's not worth it. I'm holding out for a great partner and I'm not going to settle for less. And I'm done. I'd rather be home with my friends and my cats and my dogs and my whatever. And I think that we need to kind of reframe how to date and how to choose a partner.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some specifics then. What are some signs that you're too picky that you may not even be aware of?
Signs that you're too picky is that you expect to know the minute you meet this person. And you see this in profiles all the time. I will know it the minute I see her. It will be instant chemistry. And otherwise, I'm not interested. And it's like that butterfly thing. This is all stuff of movies and books and unrealistic because often those butterflies are anxiety. They are not really any kind of connection. It just means that you have some anxiety seeing this person. And what happens when you feel butterflies too much is you will ignore red flags, you will put them on a pedestal. The relationship is kind of doomed from the beginning if it's too off kilter in that direction.
And we've talked about this on other segments, is just really the importance of knowing the difference between attraction and chemistry or infatuation. And it's difficult at first, but just not let that stand in the way of maybe getting to know somebody better. That
Yeah.
it's not the most important thing. Yeah, the I think you said, like, I know when you walk in the room, that's so silly. That's actually on profiles out there still at our age.
Yeah, yeah. And I just talked to a client today who is about to get engaged to a man who, on the first date, she did not feel butterflies. On the second date, she did not feel butterflies. And had she not been working with me, she probably wouldn't have gone on a second or third date. As she got to know him, she saw what a gem he was. And he was good looking. It was just that it wasn't the type that she was used to, which was as a friend of mine, Ken Page, who is a wonderful therapist and the podcast host of Deeper Dating, he
Mhm.
talks about attractions of inspiration and attractions of
Desperation.
inspiration, deprivation.
Okay.
And we often, that deprivation is like, I have to chase them. They have something I need. And it feels really icky, but it's what we're used to. And so the attractions of inspiration are people who become better with time. It's like a good wine. And we often don't give those people chance enough.
Yeah. You say, and this is a tough one, I think. We've talked about lists before, but that you must have lists, which and many other people recommend have that must have list, is unrealistic. How do we know what's realistic, what not? What's the guidance there?
Yeah. So again, a lot of people's must have list is completely just not about relationship qualities. They're about looks. They have to be a certain height and they have to have a certain amount of hair. And I was just listening to a podcast where a woman said her type was someone who had a full head of hair and was funny. And that was it. I'm like, okay, so all the guys who are don't have a full head of hair and don't have funny, what is funny to you? Like for some people, they think they're funny, but they're not really funny to you. And you're also not even talking about how do they resolve conflict? How do they communicate? How do they express emotion? How do they show love? These are the things we should be looking for. How do they make decisions? How do they handle money? These are what helps in a relationship, not 6 feet tall, full head of hair, nice figure for a woman. She has to be skinny and have a certain job. It may lead to attraction, but it doesn't lead to relationship.
No, and it's definitely being too picky. And then the romance novel expectations. I love that. The somebody to rescue you.
Yes. I mean, we expect to be swept off our feet if we're women. We don't even realize it. There's so many unconscious expectations that a partner should be a certain way, should look a certain way, should rescue us, should complete us, all of these things that are actually codependency and a lot of other really unhealthy ways of relating to people. So we're too picky because we're totally negating all these other amazing people who may feel boring or not show up with that suit of armor or that Playboy bunny figure or whatever it is that we have a fantasy about.
I think, well, as I said in our introduction, I kind of think when you're too picky, and this is my question to you, that it gives you a reason not to go forward, that it's almost become some sort of protective mechanism. I mean, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. It is a suit of armor that keeps us protected. So if we have lots of unrealistic expectations, then we can't say that there's anything wrong with us. There's something wrong with them. And so we can shut down. We can say, dating sucks. Online dating's terrible. The sex that I'm attracted to is the worst in the world. And it keeps us safe, but it also keeps us single.
Yeah, there's no good men out there. There's no good women out there, which we hear, of course, all the time. Yeah, definitely a sign of being too, I think, of being too picky, or at least think about it. And I'm looking forward to the comments on this. I think that this kind of stuff really hits home with just about everybody, because you do have to look at, not even just in dating, but in every, are you too picky, and how is that affecting your life? Well, then the opposite, signs that you're not picky enough can be just as bad.
Yeah. So the first sign that you're not picky enough is you go on too many dates with people who are wrong for you. And I remember this woman from many, many years ago. She was pretty young. She wanted to get married for the first time in her early 30s, I think. She had gone on 200 first dates with men she did not like. And she came to me for a session, and she was about to board a bus to travel 4 hours to go on a second date with a man she did not like. And I said to her, "You are not picky enough. Like, what are your criteria? Why are you going? Why are you putting all this effort into going on a date?" "Well, because people tell me I'm too picky." Well, you have to know for yourself, like, what are those traits that you're looking for?
That's yeah, that's a bit 4 hours with somebody that she
For
didn't.
hours.
That
Yeah, it was an extreme case, but it was like, whoa, this is if you want to look at not picky enough, she was the poster child.
you settle. I think you said here you settle for people whose life goals are different from yours. Get stuck in the if only.
Yeah, so often we think that somehow we're going to make it work with somebody who's just going off in a different direction. And you have to pay attention to those things. So you say, well, they have a lot of good qualities, but something big is missing.
Mhm.
And life goals are one of them. Like if you're getting married and you want to have children, or you're getting into partnership later in life, and one person wants to retire and the other one wants to keep working, And one person just wants to travel all the time and the other person hates travel. Is this going to be a deal breaker for you? So if you end up in a relationship with this person, both of you end up being disappointed. So you've got to realize this may be a deal breaker, and don't settle for people like that. Really hold out for somebody who's going to be more aligned with what you want in life.
Yeah. Let's briefly touch on that. You just said a word, settle. We were going to do another segment on it, but that's why I thought these two, kind of go together. Is when are you too picky or not picky enough? And when are you settling? When are you compromising? That's confusing.
So there's certain things that we should compromise on. I mean, everybody's got their quirks and everybody's got behaviors that may not be exactly what we want, but we learn to live with. So that's why I'm so big on knowing your must-haves, like knowing your true must-have list. If you can narrow that down to 5, then everything else becomes a nice to have
Mhm.
and can be compromised on. The settling part is on the big ones, like the big rocks in your life. And if you're mismatched, and I can give you an example from my marriage where I wanted to raise our children in a Jewish religious home. My husband said he wanted the same thing. And his view of God and religion and all the ways that he saw the world were completely different from mine. We wanted different things, and I noticed differences at the beginning, but I thought this was as good as it gets and that we'll be able to work it out,
Mhm.
but it wasn't. So you've got to know, like, what are those big things that are the most important to you? I mean, you can deal with I'm early, he's late. There are some wonderful relationships that work out that way. It may be annoying, but it's not going to be like going to break the relationship up.
Yeah, it's worthy of a separate conversation. And again, I'm looking forward to the comments because I know a lot of people can identify with this, especially at this point in our life.
Yeah.
The other one you have here that goes well. I'll read it first. You go on too many dates without attraction or compatibility. I think you said 4 or more is enough, because one thing that you and I both encourage people to do is don't, after a first date, go on that second date, go on that third date. But when is it too much?
Right. So I encourage people to go on at least 2 dates with somebody where there's no red flags and they have some of your must haves. And we'll get into how we know what the must haves and deal breakers are. It's when you see an obvious deal breaker, like that person is just, you have nothing to talk about,
Mhm.
or you're turned off. You're not just unattracted at a level 10, but like, I can't ever imagine kissing this person. Don't date them anymore. Like, you don't have to force yourself to go on dates like that. However, some people are nervous on a first date and they show up very differently as they start to feel more comfortable with you. And that could be amazing, like the example I gave before about the woman who started to become more attracted over time. So I think that some people just stay and stay and stay and they hope attraction will grow, but then they become contemptful. That's the word. It's just not good. It's draining and it's not healthy.
So hopefully, those are some good guidelines that have cued, some thought into the people who are listening today. So what is the solution then? How do you navigate between the two?
Yeah, so this is the hard part for most people, but you have to really get clear on your must-haves and deal breakers. And I have a whole exercise in my book, Choice Points in Dating. It is chapter, I don't remember, but it's in there. And it really helps you to break it down because you have to have that clarity.
Mhm.
When you have that clarity, stick to it. If humor's on your list and that kind of connection is really important to you and it's missing and you never laugh together, don't continue going out with them. So let go of things that are nice to have, but not must haves. A lot of people confuse the two.
Mhm.
And most importantly, know how you want to feel when you're with a person. Your body knows when you're with somebody where you feel seen and heard and appreciated for who you are. but our brains often will override, and that's where the not picky enough shows up. So really get clear with who you are, because you have to trust yourself.
Yeah. A couple of really great points. I want to go back to, how did that person make you feel? That is so, so important. And you said this, I'm repeating what you said, but to the point that, did he make you laugh or she laugh? Did you just enjoy yourself? Because I mean, it's been shown in research that laughter is one of the key bonding elements, of a relationship. Yeah, of course, it has to be attraction. You have to want to kiss him or her, but that's so much if you're comfortable, with that person. And by the way, that woman where she wanted the full head of hair and funny, all guys are a lot funnier. She's totally wrong.
Right. Yeah. And, the other part is, are you curious to know more about this person?
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you already know everything, I mean, there are people who by the second date, you're bored because they've already told you the same stories twice. Does that person leave you wanting more?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a whole dating debrief process. I think I have it in the book, and I also do it with clients, where you're really asking yourself these questions. How does my body feel? Am I curious to know more? Am I inspired in any way by this person? If you're asking yourself the right questions after dates, instead of, did they have a good pedigree? Did they go to an Ivy League school? None of this makes them good at relationships. It may make them impressive, but not good for you.
Yeah, great point. Maybe when you were younger, that was important. I don't know, because the future was ahead, and certainly, if you had the degree, that maybe put you in a different path. But my goodness, we've lived our life. Let's look at what we've accomplished, what we bring to the table. Versus, I'm surprised in comments how many people still look at education and degrees, versus the school of life and hard knocks. So anyway, food for thought. Sandy, thank you again so much. Always full of great information. I will link to all of your information to your book. I would encourage everybody to pick it up. It really does give you a guide through this process and all these things that we deal with when we're back out dating after 50. And Sandy, I look forward to having you back again soon on Second Act TV.